Hello and welcome to Women podcast. I'm your host, Denise Hanks Lawrence, and I'm excited you have decided to join me on this journey towards wellness. This is a space created for women to be empowered, uplift, and encourage. And today I have a wonderful, wonderful guest that I would love to introduce to you. And her name is Winsome Duncan, and I'm going to have her introduce herself, tell you a little bit about her. We do have a bio, of course, but I'd just like to highlight a few things and give her an opportunity to speak. So if this is your first time listening, welcome. And for all our regular listening audience, we certainly thank you. We celebrate that this year we're now in over 29 countries, and that wouldn't be so if you weren't listening. So thank you for always listening, sharing, and downloading. So Winsome, say hello to the people out there in the women to women world.
Hello, my good people. How are you today? That's my very best English accent.
I can tell we're going to have fun because I just love how authentic you are in just being you. I love it. So colorful, vibrant personality. I just love it. And I know you're rich with knowledge, especially on the topic that we're going to talk about a little bit today. And that's in not just publishing book writing, and how does one begin that process, and what happens after you write a book, right? We just write it, put it down, and do we monetize? How do we monetize? Should we monetize? Should we not monetize? A whole lot.
A whole lot. And I think that everybody should always aim to aspire to be their authentic self, because everybody else is taken. So
you got that right.
To thine own self be true.
Listen, you know? I can't be you. You can't be me.
Of course not. Of course not.
So I'm going to read just a little bit of your bio, and I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit of a few things. Some things that stood out with me. I've had the opportunity to see you on other platforms before and hear you just drop nuggets to individuals. And so one of the things that I noticed is that you have been doing this thing for 15 years. So you have 15 years of experience in book publishing, in the book publishing industry. And another thing that stood out to me is that recently you took on the initiative, the care to cater to a particular group, what you call the, is it BAME community? And so you want to talk a little about that. Oh my goodness, I love it. So
come on now, bring it to me. Black, yes. Asian, and minority ethnic. Well, yes. It's changed to BAME and refugees at the end now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's all changed.
Recently you had some projects with some young kids as well. Young authors.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I mean, because I do funding applications and you have to be up to date with the terminology. Sorry to interrupt your introduction, but that's what it's changed to, BAME. And yeah, I've worked for a project with 7 to 12-year-olds, which is pretty awesome.
Wow. See, even out of the mouth of babes. Well, we should say right out of the hand, from the hands of babes. So Winsome, tell us something, like what made you go into decide to travel this journey of career and business, entrepreneurship, and dealing with book publishing and all that stuff?
How long have you got? I mean, that might be the whole show in its entirety. Oh my goodness. Oh gosh. I think it's a soul calling. I think it's a desire. It's a passion. It's that voice that won't let me leave. It's that feeling that, you know, if you're going to be doing anything else, you're never, ever going to be happy. And I had to pick up the phone and answer that call. And a lot of people say they're in business, but they're making no money. They are not making no money. You have to make money in business, and that's what a business is supposed to do. So for me, I am a creative. I sing, I do poetry, I write books, I've created films. I'm now doing animations. Little spoiler alert up in the building. So yeah, I just love what I do. I love communicating. You know, this is our blueprint, this is our signature, and we should share the knowledge with our community, our wider community, reach out to our brothers and sisters, and support each other in this journey, in this venture. So I had to answer the call on my life of creativity. And although it was something that my father doesn't think I've got a real job, that's his opinion, isn't it? I don't have
Yeah.
to abide by that. As long as I can live, eat, and pay the rent, I'll be fine.
Right, as long as that's coming in. Oh, thank you so much for your honesty. Again, I did warn you folks, this woman is straightforward, okay? So, you know what I want to ask you though, like there are many who desire to write, but they're challenged, and it could be challenged with lack of time to write, edit, the whole editing process, and marketing. That would be another topic right there. But talk a little bit about it. How does one, if I feel like, okay, I think I have a story to tell. I really want to share this story with the world. I believe it's going to do this, but I can't find myself. I can't discipline myself, or I can't concentrate. I'm always distracted. How does one go about to prepare themselves, to challenge themselves to begin to write? Oh, I have a full-time job. I'm a wife. I'm a mom, all that. By the time I get home from work, I have to do this. I have to do that. How do I find time to write? How does one find time to write? And then consider the whole editing process and marketing on top of that.
Well, you could have a nervous breakdown doing all three of those things. I've seen writers burst into tears, depressed, can't write, especially if they're bringing up things around trauma. So for me personally, I work with writers who write and want to write 7 out of 10 and upwards. So you need to be a 7, 8, 9, or 10. And if you don't have that commitment level, then please don't waste my time.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Let's just get to it. Yeah, because I'm not in the dilly-dallying, and I can understand that authors perhaps don't understand the process, or they're not sure about what it is they're doing, or they're still deciding that they should write a book. However, I'm of the ilk of, if you come into me as a book confidence coach, you want to get your book done, we can do it. We can do it fast and we can do it slow, but we can do it. And that's my processing. So if you come and say, what do I need to do? Right. And you're correct. The number one reason why people don't tell their story, leave their legacy, is because they don't have enough time. But you have enough time to go to the mall and go and get a pair of shoes. You got enough time to go to Jamaica and sit on the beach. Yeah. You got enough time to do all these other things, but you haven't got enough time to write. So immediately when I hear people blocking themselves, my job isn't to try and, please write your book. I used to be so desperate for other people to get their books out. Oh, you must do this. I wanted it more than they did. And then when I had to check myself, you know what I mean? Sit back and check myself and think, hold on a minute, wait a minute. This person is not that bothered. So why should I be that bothered? So if you're coming to me, you have to be a 7 upwards. That's the first thing. And you've got to make time to write. It's a discipline. Whether you're a tortoise writer, like I talk about in our writing avatars, we talk about the tortoise, we talk about being a proactive writer, we talk about being a perfectionist writer, and we talk about being a tomorrow writer.
Ooh, I like that.
That book never gets written because it's always tomorrow. If tomorrow never comes, then what? So if you're a tortoise writer, I'm cool, I'm down with that. If you're a proactive writer, I'm down with that too. But if you're like a perfectionist, there's a risk that you might never write a book because it's so perfect. And I personally don't want to hear the excuses. What I want to hear is what the next step action is, and it's fine if you want to take your time, let me know. And if you want to speed up, let me know. But just let me know where you're at. And if you're not doing what it takes to make time, we can't work together. So that's the first section of that. Then you're talking about editing. Editing is a labor of love for me. I love editing, although I don't get it to do it as much. I'm currently editing a collection of poetry from a young man that's sort of been in and out of the institutions within, the justice system. And he's wanting to have his own book business now. And his poetry is really emotive and really heartfelt. And I just wonder, with all of these feelings, you know, that like how has he kept them in from since 2000 and I think 14 when he
Wow.
first started his poem, and he knows all the poems off by his head,
Beautiful.
all of them, and there's about I think 13, 14 in the book. So to promote and support somebody like that on their journey, because I used to do poetry and singing,
Right. Yeah.
is amazing, but it's also a skill, and this is why I did a video to show that when it comes to editing, this is what it takes. So
Mm.
1 or 4 pages could take an hour, depending on what kind of editor you've got. Is it copy editing? Is it line editing? Is it developmental editing? That's the next thing. If you're not a natural editor, don't edit your book, but definitely read your book through 1, 2, 3, and 4 times.
Mm.
That's a standard. But I would always say go to professionals to get it done, because what happens is when it comes to the proofread, it 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 uh it can be its own devil in itself, whereas the sentence and the samtext of a sentence is not correct, and the
Yeah.
structure is not correct, and
Yeah.
it goes from one to another and there's no connective, so that's never good either
Right.
at
Run
all.
on sentences just never, yeah, or even that. But you know what? People are trying to do this on their own right now, because you mentioned about the fact that get the help, right? To seek out the professional. For many people, it's the finances. So it may be an excuse for some, and then for some, legitimately, it's okay, I can't afford it. So I'm going to download Grammarly. I'm going to download some kind of editing software and keep it in-house so I can do it myself. But then realistically, I have written stuff myself and I'm good at editing someone else's paper, but to edit my own, I read it afterwards. I'm like, girl, what was that?
And you're honest, and I think that that's great, that you can reflect on your work and be honest, and you're the author of 4 books, so you do understand the processes and how important this dynamic is. So I mean, I would first of all say, if someone's like, oh, I don't have enough money or this or that, and I hear that a lot from our community, my first thing is to say, well, it's actually free to write. Why don't you just pick up a pen, pick up some paper, and just get your story written?
Yeah.
What are you stopping yourself, blocking yourself? Because ultimately, if you can't invest in my services, or you can't invest in your services or their services, you've got YouTube that has information and degree level details on there that you can do what I did, which was sit down and figure out the whole of the something and make sure that I knew my stuff and I was up on my game. Because you're working with me because I'm an expert. You're working
Yeah.
with me because you believe that I have the knowledge and the skills to bring your book out. And if that is the case, then we can work together because you want the best product possible. You just don't want the headache. So you're just like, oh, let me put my hands up. So that's what I would say to that. You mentioned about marketing, right?
Yeah. But before you go to marketing, let me just put a little plug in there, because you're being a little bit honest and modest with yourself. But I'm just going to put it out there. Not only do you have 15 years in this industry, but you also have 16 books of your own. Okay. So I know you know what you're talking about. So I just wanted to put it out there before we get into the marketing aspect. So people be like, okay, so she's just talking. No, no, no. You're talking because you've been there, done that. You have the proof. There you go. Hello, somebody. So talk to
Yeah,
us a little bit
I
about
do
that.
have some proof. So I actually don't know where the popcorn house was. I've just been sitting down thinking, where's the popcorn house? That was my first #1 book. So you can go
Right.
online
The
and have a
popcorn
little.
house, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's it. You can have a little look because it's not in my desk anywhere. And I always have a copy of this book near me somehow, but today I've been maybe I've moved it. But yeah, so that was my first ever #1, written with 30 young people from the BAME community who wanted to share their stories, write their characters, and
Yeah.
create a superheroes book. And the fact that we're doing that animation now is just beyond me. Like how everything's just connected for the good. But Talk Baby Talk, these are my Bouncing Baby series books, and these are like positive images of a black man with
Yeah.
his son, holding his
Yes.
son up. You see what I'm trying to say?
Love.
Dream bigger. This is to
Mm.
inspire our young people to always think outside of the box. We've got a boy version of that as well. And these
Oh,
are all #1 books, except for the Talk Baby Talk. These ones all went to #1. Um, This is Sleep Baby Sleep. This was my first baby book. This is actually one that we've published, The Unicorn Surprise Party. And this is another one that we've published. They're two cousins, Issa
Rich
Manning
Penny and
and,
Poor Penny.
yeah,
Wow.
Issa Manning and Maya Douglas. So what they're going to come up with their young minds. And then obviously the training manuals as well. So Just Write It is to teach people how to write their books if they can't afford my services. You pay your little $15, you get your book off Amazon, and away you go. And at least you've tapped into me. And then bam, 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 cheese. Oh my God.
Wait a minute, hold up. So you have Just Write It, and then
Mhm.
you have Just Market It.
Come on now.
Ooh, come
Come
on.
on now.
Come on.
I'm
Come on.
serious. Denise, I'm so serious about this thing. You know, this is my living, this is my livelihood, this is what I've been created to do. So
I
why
love
not
that.
do
You're
it?
walking in your purpose, and I can hear it. It's coming, it's coming over the airwaves, it's coming off the Zoom here. You know, it's the fact that you love what you do. Because you love what you do it with such passion, with such
Mm,
joy. You put it into it, you put your all into it, and just
mm.
living it. And then that's also what you want for your clients as well, for them to be able to share that kind of a journey as well. Now, when you think about that, you have Peaches Publishing Company and everything in that nature. What would someone need to do when after they've done that process of writing it? So we did the just writing, and we're going to get ready now to talk about marketing. How does one market?
I think I need to make a clear distinction here. And this is a very good question. Not every author that works with me wants a book business. Some of the authors are just vanity authors. They've paid their money and they just want a book. And that's it. They don't want nothing else. They don't want to promote it. They're busy, they're studying, they've got the children, they've got a life. That's it. They just want it to be able to say, I'm an author. So there's a distinction between these two types of authors. So let's say we've got the vanity author, and then let's say we've got the book business author. So the first thing that you want to do is decide which category you sit in. Let's not assume that just because you wrote a book, you want to sell copies, because that really isn't the case. And I was more surprised than anyone. But again, it's learning. I've written a 200-page workbook called Just Market It. And when I wrote it, I got so stressed. I've done it in 7 months. Yeah, 200 pages. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because what am I leaving on the planet? What am I leaving to say I'm here to support my people after I'm gone? I have to do something. This is my lane. This is what I'm good at doing. I'm not sure of a woman of color who's done a marketing book in the UK. I'd love to meet them around for authors, because it's just for authors. It's not for businesses. It's for authors to market. And I'm sure there'll be people that will try and follow in my footsteps, as they've done with the Just Write It. And I take that as a compliment. You know, imitation is a form of flattery, right?
Yes, yes.
So let's consider that this author here is wanting to do a book business, or they just want to recoup the money that they've made from writing their books. The first thing they need to do is test their strengths and weaknesses. So maybe you have a SWOT: strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats, and see where they're strong at. So some people might be really good online. People might be really good at press releases. Some people might just be willing and open to learn. So once they kind of know where their
Strength and weaknesses are,
once they know that, then it gives them an opportunity to learn more and deeper. So I'll say to them, what is your core message? What is your product brand message? What is your personal message? These are all things that you need to have when you're going out there into the world saying, I'm an author. Anyone can write a book. Anyone can publish a book. But is it any good? Is it going to be of quality? And are people going to buy? Why have you got 10, 15 books and you're saying, oh, I'm a publisher, or, oh, I've written books, and you're not selling books? That don't make no sense to me.
Hello, I'm getting my free lesson right here, right now. Did I sign up yet? Okay, we got to talk about that at the end.
Come on, people talk sense to me. Now, seriously, because
makes sense.
in this world that we are living in, everything is up in the air and temperamental. And while we are in this transition, you better be wanting to tell your story. And it's not about whether you do it with me, whether you do it with you. You just better want to tell and leave that legacy, whatever grandma's recipe was. You see what I'm trying to say? So
Yes,
book
yes.
marketing is vast. You have to have a plan. There's 4 weeks of marketing your book for your launch. There's 8 weeks. There's a 12-week campaign list and guide in there. You have to make sure you've got your press kits. And if that just overwhelms you, well, then think about what you're doing properly and think about, is this something that you really, really want to do? Because it's a lot of work. And I assure you, if you can implement everything in this, like, so for example, the biggest thing I see is not having an Amazon author central profile page.
Uh-oh. Ouch. Did you realize you're on my show, right? You're kind of stepping on my toe a little bit. Can we like pause and rewind? Let me rewind that for a minute. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay. You just say that one again, please.
The biggest bugbear that I see is authors with books and they do not have their Amazon central profile page. It's a free tool. Amazon created it so that you can promote yourself. And in fact, I'm going to do a video about this after we come off of this interview. So you get to put your picture up there, your biography up there, your contact details. You get to put and list all of your books. They've got a new blog service, which I haven't used yet, but I will do. And they've got images that you can put in there, like a gallery, and video.
Even if it's not published with them, you can still put those books up. Say an author already has books.
As long as you connect the ISBN to you.
Okay.
I'm the author of this book. It could be with an independent publisher, but if that's your profile, and you can have pen names. So my children's book name is W.F. Duncan, and my other books that I write about is Winston Duncan. So I've got 2 pen names. And I've got a profile in America where my picture's different to the one in the UK. It's a different audience.
Yes. Yeah. See, a lot of people are not aware of that. When you think about uploading on Amazon, you think it's only, you have the option to only do in the US if you're living in the US. But we have so many listeners that's listening from all over that may be thinking about writing. So they can also utilize Amazon in their space where they're at, and have the option to have more than one pen names. I like
definitely. And you can have your own profile page in all the different countries, in France, in Canada, all over. I sell my books mainly in US and UK. So I'm just kicking it there for now. But the minute they go to Japan or China, yo, you want to see my face? Let's do it.
I can only imagine the colors. I can only imagine.
Probably get a little oriental outfit and put some chopsticks in my hair and look like that.
Oh my goodness, I'm loving this. Let me talk about your latest project that we talk about. As we can see in the bio here, it talks about how groundbreaking campaign and Look Like Me book challenge, right? Look Like Me book challenge. When you talk earlier about grandma's recipe, a lot of individuals in the Black community, the minority community, the Asian community, we have that, right? Grandma left this recipe. Oh, I want some of grandma's mac and cheese, but nobody makes it like her grandma. I have the recipe. It's a legacy and it's passed down, right? So our book is a legacy that we're leaving. We're passing it down. You said earlier that even your marketed book, it's a legacy. It's a legacy. It's so far 200 pages of marketing resources, techniques, strategies that you're sharing. So even if someone's not able to tap into the business itself and say, hey, I would like to publish my book with you, I would like to do the whole process, authoring and so on and so forth, they can still access this part of your legacy. Because people often don't realize how important legacy is. We think it's just, leaving money for someone, but it's what you instill in someone, something that you leave in that someone can then then take to change their life, that will change the trajectory of their life. And so that you're doing. Now, why is it that you feel is so important now to be a part of this campaign, Look Like Me?
Well, the Look Like Me book challenge is a passion project. And in the UK, they did a report, the Centre of Learning of in Primary Education. They did a report on the statistics of Black books. And about 3 years ago, only 1% of Black, Asian, and minority characters as main characters were in traditionally published children's books. And I just got angry. I remember seeing that statistic online and I just got so vexed. And I couldn't understand why. And I read the bit of the report. I even went to visit the centre. And as the times have gone up and up and up, we're now 5% of Black and brown faces in children's books. But that is compared to the 33.5% of children that are in the educational system of ethnic minority backgrounds. And I just thought to myself, this is a joke. We cannot be what we do not see. So how can we push forward and show positive representations of our young people when they just don't recognize us? And I just thought, oh, enough is enough. And I'm not having it anymore. And for the last 2 years, we were unincorporated, we were raising funds. And I think we raised something like £2,500 to set up the project, to make it a CIC, which is a community interest company over here in the UK, and to make it all official with trustees and board members and a steering advisory group. And now we're in a position to go for funding for the projects that we're doing. And I just think that it is really crucial to have images that are going to stick with our young children when they're growing up, boys and girls, to say, oh, I mean, recently there's something in the news right now with baby Kenzo, who's 2 years old. And Kenzo thinks he's in the cartoon Enchanto, because it actually looks like him. That's the joke of it. But it's representation and it matters. So this is what I'm passionate about. And every year I want to commit to doing 2 projects with these different age groups, which has been 7 to 12, which was the pilot. And then we want to do the pilot with 13 to 18. So that's going to be interesting to see what kind of book comes out of that. And then we'll go around and do it again every year, and maybe even franchise it out as we grow and develop, but it's actually been challenging, Denise. I'm not going to lie. There's been times that I've burst into tears on and offline, because there is institutional racism within the publishing industry here in the UK, which no one don't want to seem to talk about. They're not giving any one of us Black faces any advances anytime soon, and you've got to do this little coonery buffoon dance to sort of be in there and not be Black anymore. And I can't take it. I really can't. So my instinct said to come to the America and try and see what I can do with a wider audience. And I was so delighted that we have finally had the opportunity for this interview, because there might be somebody that's inspired under the sound of our voice. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And Winsome, just before we close, I know that you provide creative writing online courses and workshops for budding writers. You want to share a little bit more about that? Like, if someone, we know we can look for your profile on your Amazon Central book there profile. We can look for that. And is it Amazon .co.uk/Winsome, right? So I'm going to ask you to just share some of the platforms that we can find you on if someone wants to reach out to you. And I'm definitely going to have a challenge for our listeners as well. I would like to provide them with one of the copies of Write It. So if you're listening, you can send an email to w2wpodcastshow@gmail.com and give me a reason why you want to write. And if you're the first one that we get that email from, then I'm purchasing that and I'm gifting it to you to just write it.
That
Write it, write
support
it, write it, write it, write it.
and write some more.
Write it. Leave that legacy. Write it. Just write it. Write it. Just get up and write. Just like
Right
Nike,
on.
just do it. Write it. Write it.
Mm,
So again, if
yeah.
you're interested in receiving that gift, please send an email to the number 2W podcast show at gmail.com. So Winsome, tell us how we can get in touch with you.
Okie
We hear all
dokie.
this
So
great you're doing. We want to tap into that. Tell us how we can get in touch with you.
So you can get in touch with me by Googling my name, Winsome Duncan. I come up, I am on all the social medias. You can go to my publishing website, www.peachespublications.co.uk, and you can see some of the services that we provide around children's books and also around support with the Just Writing workshops that we have, which are free. We do like a free 90-minute taster for those that just want to dip their toes in or find out a little bit more and so on and so forth. So, you can start at that level. And also www.bookconfidencecoach.com, where I've got my online course. It started last year, which has been really, really well. It's just Write It online course. And I'm starting a bonus 4-week session of book confidence coaching, starting on the 24th, Monday, the 24th of January, 8 p.m. GMT. I think that might be 3 p.m.
Our time, yeah, about that.
Is that
So
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let me see if I can
Yeah.
add 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah.
We could write. We're not sure
I
we could
forgot to count. No, I can count the money. No. I used to work for like a superstore, and I used to be counting thousands of pounds. Now I can count money. No. It's my dyslexia. That was my dyslexia at play. I can count that money. Don't worry.
Isn't that funny? Dyslexia, but you wrote 16 books. Okay, come on.
Yeah. Only God. Only God.
Only God,
Only
only
God.
God. I'm telling
And
you.
be encouraged. That's a great gift that you're going to give to them. So, be encouraged and be that first person in with an email and just start the journey.
Yeah, start the journey. I'm telling you, folks, you want to get that in, send that email and we'll send you that copy of Write It. And I promise you, once you're done with Write It, you definitely want to go over to Market It. Now, I haven't gotten Market It yet, but I'm getting my copies today. I'm going to get my Write It and my Market It as well and tap into some of this resource as well. It's great having you on. Oh my goodness, it's exciting. I can't wait to have you back on again and we could talk a little bit more about everything, but just give one encouraging word at the end of the recordings. I like to challenge the listeners, just give them a challenge, something that, to challenge them this week or to challenge them for the next month, make it be a 90-day plan, whatever it is. What would you challenge those that are listening that felt it's sometimes that I want to write, or maybe, I had some dyslexia. Maybe I was always told you don't have anything important to share. Maybe they've been listening to all those negativity. Maybe they're struggling financially and don't think that there's a way possible. What challenge would you say to them today that can encourage them to consider writing, to leave that legacy?
So my word of encouragement is this: always remember it is free to write. So pick up a pen and pick up a paper and begin that process. The challenge that I give to you today is to be consistent. So if you're going to write once a week, do that. If you're going to write 3 times a week, do that. If it's going to be in the morning, do that. And if it's going to be in the afternoon or the evening, do that too. Have set times where you just have a space. If the children are sleeping, wake up an hour early. The children have just gone to bed, go to bed an hour later. Create that time and space for you to express yourself and to be consistent and to honor your integrity and who you are, not just to talk, just to say a word, but to actually be proactive and be consistent and be true to your authentic self and begin that process, because you never know where it's going to lead. You never know who it's going to save. Was that okay?
Yeah, that's beautiful. I've always said this, that there's therapeutic value, shared stories, and somebody's waiting for that story. Somebody's waiting for that part of you the listeners I'm talking to, that part of you that you need to share with someone. So yeah, write it and then market it if that's you.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for blessing us on this platform. I love your energy. I love your vibe. And I can only imagine when people become a client, how they just leave full and rich and energized, like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But it's a
I love
passion.
you too,
Thank
my
you
lovely. Thank you
so
for having
much.
me.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to Women podcast. Again, send us that email at w2wpodcastshow@gmail.com.